I want to tell you guys a story. When I was in high school, there was this YouTuber that inspired me to do cartoon reviews. His name was the mysterious Mr. Enter. I didn't care much about him at first, especially when he was terminated around the time that I first saw him. That changed when I found out that he collabed with Josh Scorcher, my favorite YouTuber at the time. And my 18-year-old self had the logic of, if Josh Scorcher liked it, that means it was good. And animation was something I was getting back into, thanks to My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Before that show, it was hard for me to enjoy animation. Then Finn helped me get back into it. The irony is that when it came to Mr. Enter's reviews, I should care more about his cartoon stuff than his MLP reviews. Enter was a guy that guided me even more on what shows I should watch and what I should avoid. 2016 was a great time. Yeah, I actually liked that year, despite all the problems that people said about that year. Hell, I'd be glad to go back to that year, not be in 2020 or 2021. 2016 is when I really got invested in Enter. His political stuff was okay, but it didn't bother me and I was just having a blast with his reviews. In April 2017, he created a private Discord for people to join. I was one of the few selected because Enter linked his Discord on his DeviantArt a long time ago. Quick tip, don't make a private server of yours with a public leak. I know that Discord was new, but still, in hindsight, that was a dumb decision. Then after a year of talking to him, I wanted to be his editor. My own channel got demonetized at the time, so I needed the money, and I've noticed that his videos were coming out slower. He only did 12 reviews in 2018, more or less one per month. And I wanted my favorite reviewer at the time to get the quality of his works out faster, which is where my volunteering came in. After so very long, I finally was able to join. And for a good couple of years, it was really fun. John and I were friends, and I even met a great number of people through him. But as the saying goes, all good things must come to an end. And in this case, it was coincidentally the start of the new decade where John took a turn for the worst. I don't know if it was himself or other people causing him to be bad, but it was a downward spiral.
Ah boy, here we go.
It started with Nicorama. Basically what happened is that John bit off more than he could chew.
If things weren't as rushed, and if he placed things out better, the reviews would have been better, and would have gotten more good reviews like the first TMNT show, and not bad reviews like Rise. Where's the re-review of that again?
Then of course, the pandemic did him in. I defended him despite me regretting that. He became more sour of a person.
Mr. Enter deleted both his Twitter and DeviantArt due to the harassment that he got. But there was also a speculation that it could have been because of how he couldn't handle the criticism of Nicorama or the fact that he was an anti-masker.
This came to a final straw on June 6, 2021. No coincidence to being D-Day. One of the teammates, Hope, blocked me for no reason. It was a fight that we had back in September of 2020, a whole 9 months ago, and we solved that issue. But out of nowhere, she gained a grudge 9 months later, and she basically lied to me towards John. If you're wondering, her claim was that I was a liar and that I didn't treat my teammates well. Both were lies. For starters, Hope wasn't technically part of my team, she was just a friend on my server. And not helping is that at the time I had to deal with trolls because, well, when you associate with Enter, you're gonna have to deal with trolls. And my actual teammates told me I was doing good. As time has gone on, we improved both our situations and friendships. And not helping Hope is that she never provided a screenshot once of anything.
There was also a grudge between Rebecca and Hope about a birthday present for John's 28th birthday. Rebecca suggested an animatic for John. Hope then agreed to do this, until 3 days later, where she broke down and called Rebecca an awful person. Rebecca apologized immediately, and stated in hindsight that this was a bad decision on her part. At the time, Hope accepted Rebecca's apology, and both of them moved on. Now fast forward to June 6th.
When I wanted to talk things out with Hope, Enter's team went behind my back without my consent, shit-talked me and made up lies about me. And worst of all, got Sarah to fire me, a guy that was 7 years younger than me. And if I'm correct, he turned 18 around the time that I got fired. Why did John not just tell me that I'm fired and kicked off his team? That's a very good question. To this day, I can't give you an answer. That's because I don't know! John claims that I leaked information to the public, but the only thing that I did state is that I said someone was running John's Twitter. And the only reason that I did that was so that people didn't try to take it down in case some people thought it was an imposter account. Basically, 3 years of friendship thrown down the drain that one June day. And of course, there's the fact that Grace paid me $300 to help me out after I got fired. Basically, she was helping me with my finances. It was a really nice gesture. Then she left me when I basically told my side of the story. What you're hearing right now was something that I wanted to explain in video format 3 months ago. Then Ava guilt-tripped me to give the $300 back. Which I did, for the record, despite Grace telling me that she didn't want it. And you want to know the worst part about all this? Someone, and I'm keeping them anonymous, told me that Enter, or anyone on his team that I don't contact anymore, hasn't even mentioned my name once. So it told me that all of those years of us getting to know each other was a fucking lie! Adding on to that, people have told me that Enter will shit talk you and even ignore you, and yet somehow he will expect you to apologize. Not exactly demand, but he wouldn't say anything to you unless you said, "I'm sorry," even if you did nothing wrong, especially if you did nothing wrong. So John to this date thinks that he
and his team
think that they have done nothing wrong. And from what I gather, they haven't changed one bit. They haven't learned a goddamn thing. They are still nasty and abusive, at least towards me.
not towards anyone else, stating this for legal reasons.
I am still waiting to talk things out through with them, but considering that Enter has shit talked me behind my back, possibly lied about me and believes that I owe him an apology, it's best that that bridge has finally been burned. My moral here is this: don't let people tell you that you're abusive when you have done nothing wrong, because they're not always gonna be right. There's gonna be plenty of people in the world that try to take you down, for any reason. Do not let yourself be walked over. If you truly believe that someone has done something wrong or harmful, do not let yourself stay silent and have them be in control. Talking about this was really hard for me to do, because someone has guided me for about 5 years turned out to be the villain that I fought against. It's poetic in some case. And obviously do not go after Mr. Enter or any of his teammates.
Don't ever.
I'm just glad to finally get that off my chest. It's a good thing that there's no cartoon episode out there for kids that teaches the exact opposite of that, right?
It's like if an evil scientist wanted to create the most annoying person ever, they still wouldn't come close to competing with her.
So we finally get to talk about this episode. If you think that Enter Rant was off topic, it wasn't. It plays directly into this episode, and we'll get into why soon. It's been a while since we talked about DC Superhero Girls, hasn't it? For those that don't know, this show was made back in 2019 by Lauren Faust. It was based off her Super Best Friends Forever shorts, and when I met Lauren Faust back in 2019 at BronyCon, I remember her advertising her show there, the 2019 version, not the original shorts. While it was out for about half a year at the time, I did not watch the cartoon yet until after BronyCon. Yeah, Cartoon Network turned Lauren Faust's shorts into a full-on show in March of 2019. As of right now, in September 2021, which is 2.5 years later, DC Superhero Girls 2019 is still making new episodes. At first, I thought that this show was really good. It had awesome animation, which it still does for the record. It created a cast of fun, lovable girls, and it could be funny at times. My main criticism at the time was that the feminism aspect was pushed way too hard. At first, I only considered it a nitpick, and I figured as time would go on, this problem would drop. This isn't unique to DC Superhero Girls. A lot of shows do this. They have these weird quirks in like the first half of the first season, or even the first full season, making it harder to go back to. For example, Steven Universe's first season is more about just exploring Beach City and its humans and not much on the gem stuff. But in DC Superhero Girls, their quirk just got worse. It's funny, I originally wanted to do a positive review of this show when I first watched it, but that all changed when I saw a certain bad episode, the one that I reviewed. 2 years ago, I reviewed the episode #CrushingIt. And yes, every episode starts with a hashtag, because this show wants to be as relevant as possible, even though it fails at that. That episode was about Wonder Woman getting a crush on a boy named Steve. And funny story, in my original review, I've had comments tell me that Steve was originally a World War I pilot. Not this Steve, but in the DC universe. And this episode, after the girls tell Wonder Woman that she's a symbol of female empowerment,
You're literally a symbol of female empowerment.
4 of the quote-unquote heroes go and try to flat out kill Diana's crush. Why? Because Diana was love babbling. And when someone love babbles, it means that the only way to revive them is to kill their crush, who was a war hero in previous generations. And this version was going into the military. Let me guess, if this came out in 2020, if he was a police officer, this would be justified, am I right? The only one that didn't try to kill Steve was Barbara, because Barbara is the best superhero and she deserves better friends. We'll put a pin in this statement for now. For a while, I considered this the worst episode of the whole series, but in recent times, I realized that there's one episode worse than this, which is what today's Animation review is on. #Frenemies. It's about Harleen coming to Metropolis and that she's meeting up with Barbara, and I think that their phone call is cute.
Oh, Harl, this is the best news since ever. I can't wait to see you.
And it's shown that Barbara and Harleen have really good chemistry with each other.
Are you just getting here?
Gotta be fashionably light on my first day. There's no one I'd rather hang glide with than you. This is a brand spanking new Joker-verse Batman imprint!
What? Let's read it together right now.
The main thing that Barbara wants to do is to introduce her former best friend Harleen to her new current best friends, and that's admirable. I do love the idea of old friends trying to meet new friends. However, this is one of the worst offenders of this. In the episode, Barbara's current 5 friends all have problems with Harleen. Not issues, but actual problems. Now, a good friendship would have these people talk to said person that's bothering them. Barbara's friends don't do that. Instead, they allow Harleen to act like a child, and they don't do anything about this. Harleen herself is not a bad person in this, for the record. The worst thing that she does is act immature for her age. But it's not like she's hurting other people or being embarrassing. If anything, all Harleen is trying to do is make Barbara's friends laugh.
Pleasure to welcome you to... Hand buzzer! Classic Harleen!
All of Barbara's current friends are shit-talking her behind both Harleen and Barbara's backs.
The worst 20 seconds of my life, and I've been to the Phantom Zone.
I always do that.
How about a warning next time?
You're so right, and I am so wrong.
Welcome to the Phantom Zone, bad guy.
Yeah, bad guy.
Wait, what? Did I just go off topic and place a random video in? No, I didn't. What you saw was the Phantom Zone. Why did I just put that in? Well, Kara said that 20 seconds with Harleen was worse than anything in the Phantom Zone. A whoopee cushion on her head is apparently worse than anything from a gigantic prison of her home life. Barbara's new friends are jerks. Throughout the first quarter of the episode, each of Barbara's friends go through town and they each get a turn with Harleen, basically being the worst type of friends. They don't even try talking to Harleen once.
Do you like this series?
Oh, I'm sorry, Karen does at a movie theater where you're supposed to stay quiet. And Karen tried to talk to Harleen first, not the other way around. These girls think that Harleen is a terrible person. And because this episode wants to spite me, not only do these 5 lie directly to Barbara, but Barbara is actually smart in this episode by her getting the lasso of truth.
Harleen is the worst.
Worse than the worst!
Just when I thought she couldn't get worse, she got worse.
I do not enjoy her company. Harleen has been trying so hard to be friends with you guys, and this is how you repay her?
Yeah, tell those last minute friendship is magic copies. This leads to the girls breaking away from Barbara, causing friction between them. While Barbara's brokenhearted, she tries getting back with Harleen. Unfortunately, Harleen finds some bad friends. When Barbara doesn't want to hang out with them, they too also go their own separate ways, making Barbara all alone. Oh, by the way, I want to bring out the fact that Harleen lets Barbara down nicer, while Barbara's quote-unquote actual friends are a lot meaner. I have to say quote-unquote a lot because they are not friends in any sense whatsoever. We then see Harleen turn into Harley Quinn and her evil new friends do a bunch of evil things. Then they make fun of the main 5 girls, who were casually eating ice cream all happy, almost as if they cut someone out of their lives and were proud of it, despite that person doing nothing wrong. Isn't that right, Mr. Enter?
I have definitely been doing much better as of late.
I have definitely been doing much better as of late. Why do you say this less than 24 hours after firing me? You see the problem here? It's called unfortunate implications.
My mental health is not in the toilet this summer.
I needed a good laugh, John. But that's just me and my situations. I doubt the actual episode has these girls being bitches to Barbara, right?
Shouldn't we call Babs?
That girl will join us when she is ready.
Hey, Jack, my friend Bill is in the hospital. Should we check on him?
No way, dude. Bill will join us when he is ready.
Then they just fight and get their asses kicked by the villains. All these superpowered heroes suck on their own without the help of a powerless hero like Batgirl. And here I thought that this show is better than Powerpuff Girls 2016. Barbara gets an idea from Barry Allen, who is the best character of the episode, about how Babs should hang out with their friends separately, and thus leading to Babs saving the day, and her apologizing to her friends, and not the other way around. They may say that they were sorry, but it feels too weak. And 2, it sounds like they're only staying together as business partners and not actual friends. And that's how the cookie crumbles. I'm gonna rip this episode apart! So before we get all negative, let's start with something positive. A vision. You see, Barbara and Harleen could actually work better for this show. Let me put it like this. Barbara being with those 5 supers always, and I mean always, will be viewed as Friendship is Magic ripoffs. I mean, both shows were made by Lauren Faust. Did Cartoon Network rip them off to get better ratings? Didn't they already do this with both Teen Titans Go and Powerpuff Girls 2016? This show is basically Equestria Girls as a TV show, but there is a way to prevent this, and it's even better than Super Best Friends Forever. I call it Gotham, day and night. It would star both Barbara and Harleen. During the day, these two would be the best of friends, kind of like SpongeBob and Patrick, but at night they would be immoral enemies, like Mr. Krabs and Plankton. Plus, these two are the female counterparts, kind of Batman and the Joker, 2 of the most iconic rivalries ever. So there's a lot that you can do with that, and in this show, the 2 would never know their nighttime secret identities.
This could be similar to the Gorilla comics, where this gorilla and lizard are best friends normally, but enemies as monsters. We could really use an animation adaptation of that comic.
Sometimes the premise that you come up with isn't always the best one. You need to really work on your premise. Here's a quick tip. The less characters that you have, the more that you could develop them. This is why the best shows don't exactly have the biggest cast in the world. In fact, in hindsight, it was a problem with MLP. At times, it felt like there were too many characters added to keep up with them. But let's focus on DC Superhero Girls since that's the review. Tell me why this show has to have 6 superheroes, and your answer can't be, because friendship is magic! Look at the original Super Best Friends Forever. Sure, it may have been too similar to Powerpuff Girls, but those shorts at least gave the idea of 3 human-like superheroes that are older and more mature per se. Because there are half the number of characters, it's easier to give these characters more personality. We can learn more about the characters. I mean, this isn't the only show like this. Samurai Jack, for example, despite him not talking a lot, I know a lot about him because he's his only main character. It's nothing against large ensemble casts. It's true no matter what. The more characters that you have, the less time that you'll have to develop them. Barbara's friends not helping is that they're too similar to characters from Friendship is Magic. So even if you could say that they are able to expand in this show, they act too similar to previous Lauren Faust characters, which is usually a bad sign. So this episode wants to see Barbara in the wrong for being jealous of what her friends did to Harleen. Because after watching Carl destroy a video game machine out of frustration and not fixing it or paying for the damages is really gonna make me side with her.
Not very good, are you?
At the game or at Friendship? Cause I think all 5 of Barbara's friends failed at. If I sound repetitive, truth be told, the problems in this show are repetitive. And no, I don't mean that Barbara's friends fail like this in every episode. I mean the fact that every episode usually has the girls do the exact same thing. For example, the episode Beeline is about Karen going around to rally up all 5 of her friends to help stop the bad guys. That's it. It takes up 8 minutes in an 11-minute episode. It is one of the most tedious things I have ever seen in a television cartoon. Oh, by the way, that episode is out of order. That one had all 6 villains together, even though they weren't supposed to be together yet. In Frenemies, that's where the villains first get together, even though all 6 villains were together in that one. And that was 13 episodes before this one. God, why did we even in the 2010s have cartoon episodes air out of order? This show has bad habits. Speaking of bad habits, Frenemies have some really bad habits. A lot of the girls' habits in Frenemies can easily be fixed, like Zatanna and the cupcake. Couldn't Zatanna say, "Hey, Harleen, could you please eat that cupcake quieter and maybe chew with your mouth closed?" Why does Zatanna not say that once? If this episode's message was about communication, it has failed at it. Teaching about communication is a very important message. Conflict. Barbara's friends are bad at communicating to Harley on issues. Resolution. Barbara's friends learn proper communication skills and learn what "I'm sorry" means. I watched this episode 5 times, and every time that I watch this, I notice a new problem. If you want me to not feel bad for Barbara, don't make her more competent as usual. I'm glad that you are, but all that does is make her new friends worse. Usually Barbara wouldn't grab something like the lasso of truth to solve her issue, but because she knew that her friends were lying, she had to. Speaking of the lasso of truth, Babs, why don't you use it a second time? Knowing that you know that your friends lied to you the first time! Hey, Duncan from Total Drama, don't you have a catchphrase for this?
Trust no one.
Yeah, pretty much. One saying that I have is, 1 lie equals 1,000 lies. Because once you know that someone is lying, what are the odds of them lying again? Or how many times have they lied to you in the past? Trust is all broken, and there is no reason for why in the second half of Frenemies why Barbara wouldn't use the lasso of truth again. Barbara, you need to use it now! Barbara tries to only use it on herself, but to me, Barbara should be using it on her actual friends. Barbara caught her friends lying earlier, so why is it now that she's fine with not using the lasso?
I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have ditched you guys and... Wait, there's only one way to know that I mean it.
We are sorry as well.
Once again, unless you use the actual lasso, I'm not gonna believe you. If you want to do a message on trust, don't have a special lasso that can tell the truth! Oddly enough, I actually once had a bad idea of one of the girls taking the lasso, using it for her own selfish needs, and to force someone like their friends into their own evil ways to force them to like something that they themselves like and not their friends. The fact that I can see Barbara's friends doing that is a bad sign. You should never expect good characters to want to do evil things. It's like the Pony.Mob series. You wouldn't expect the main 6 to ever do any of those horrific things in the actual MLP show.
No more splitting up ever again, okay? Not with Catwoman and her crew up there.
We need each other now more than ever.
Oh, I get it. You guys treat each other more as business partners. As business partners, this is an actual acceptable message. Sometimes you may not get along with each other, but you have to stick together to save the day. That actually is a good message out of context. In context, let's talk about those 5 bitches. They didn't put any effort into this episode.
It is our divine duty as
host to offer hospitality to this new guest. Plus, she is very important to Barbara for some reason.
1, she's her friend! I think that's all the importance that you need. For a show about friendship, you sure suck at it. For the love of God, not even Friendship is Magic in its worst episodes questioned on why someone was a friend.
What about Discord?
In what way can you tell that they are indeed under a spell?
They're having fun with Discord.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. It's the same problem here, but worse because at least 5 of them are doing this instead of just 1. Maybe because the Twilight one you could skip and you wouldn't lose a thing. This one is integral to the series, making that worse. And 2 for Diana. She has a problem with modern ways. In almost every single episode in season 1, including the season 1 finale, she can't really make sense of our modern life. Like she's an awful critic. It's like she saw Antoine Ego from Ratatouille, but only saw the terrible internet critic side of him and failed at parodying him. Even if you like the joke the first time, it gets old pretty fast. Doing the same joke over and over again is bad. What else is there?
How about you surrendering, or admitting that you love this show?
Nice try. Kai, you're an idiot.
Oh, come on. I'm just trying to trick you.
What is the real problem?
The quote-unquote heroes stopping the villains for their own egos.
Oh yeah, thanks for that, Kai.
No problem. Anytime.
In Frenemies, there's a scene of the villains not only smashing mailboxes, but blowing up a postal service, which is a major crime. And if that's not enough for you, there's even a montage in the start of part 2 showing the villains doing a bunch of other evil deeds.
What do you guys call a carbonated beverage?
Soda.
We say pop.
I always hate it whenever a bad episode has jokes. Why? Because it tells me that an episode could have been good had the story been fixed. Jokes are great, but your characters come first, story second, humor third.
What do you call bugs that light up?
Fireflies? Yeah, see, we say fireflies in Metropolis, too.
In Pennsylvania, we say lightning bug, or lightning bugs for plural. The worst thing that you could do in these quote-unquote progressive shows is having the villains be more fun than the heroes. It's okay if the villains are more fun in something like Aladdin, because Aladdin isn't trying to push some forced political message, unlike its live-action remake. And that's 2 Riot Animation reviews in a row that I should talk its live-action remake. Talk about coincidence! With the villains destroying mail, robbing, and so much destruction, you'd think that would cause the superhero girls to rise up and stop them, right? Or they could just stop them for their own selfish needs. I love how this show shows these heroes only willing to stop villains when they themselves are insulted. I thought that superheroes would be strong enough to stand up against villains regardless of insults. I hate to say this, but even Stan Lee's kindergarten taught that.
Some people are rude and mean like that. It would be a lot worse to be here and to act like that all the time.
If that show is teaching you to not get fed up with insults, you have a problem. Also, these girls have a costume changing sequence that goes on for 1 minute and 22 seconds. Yes, I timed it. Because I just realized how much time is wasted on just the animation dingling keys in front of children instead of actually telling a story. Could you imagine if I did a review and there was a straight up 1 minute and 22 seconds of a black screen with no audio or visuals? That's what this is like to me. And what makes this even more insulting is that the villains one only lasts for 45 seconds. And then Barbara does one.
Get on with
No. Babs deserves this one. Babs and Harleen are the only 2 good things of this episode.
Glad I could give you something to reflect on.
I don't get it.
Why is it that the villains are more fun than the heroes?
You guys are villains?
All this is gonna do is make kids want to side with the villains. Hell, I argue that Barbara's friends are more villains than the actual quote-unquote villains. And no, that's not just this episode. Let's see. Jessica in other episodes has openly assaulted people for eating meat.
Hey, you! What's in that bucket?
Hey, I have some pamphlets for you, mister. Hey!
And even created the villain Ivy. Oh, and Jessica wants to save the trees by printing out a bunch of papers. You know, papers, which require cutting trees down to make them. Hey, remember when Doug Walker did that as a joke in his Lorax review?
Go see the Lorax! Find out how you too can save the trees!
If Doug Walker can make better environmental jokes than you taking the environment seriously, then you have a problem with how you process reality.
You could have at least recycled, you animals!
Apparently it is. I've been taught my whole life in both my family and schools that paper is trash. But apparently it's the other way around now. Technically food paper is trash. Jessica's papers is technically recycled, but she shouldn't be so abrasive about it. Wait, I went on a tangent. What was I talking about again?
The DC Superhero Girls episode #Frenemies.
No, I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about how these heroes are the worst heroes that Cartoon Network has ever created.
Wait, even worse than Powerpuff Girls 2016?
Yes, they teach one bad message. One, and that girls are better than boys. But that's their only mistake. This show, however, teaches not only that, but stating that it's okay to allow people to drown in the water out of jealousy, especially if that water is filled with man-eating sharks. Shout your messages as loud as possible, even if they're contradictory or flat out evil. It's okay to let criminals on the loose as long as you put them back in jail later, no matter how much destruction they cause. You should never blab secrets about girls, but blabbing about men is totally fine. If a psychopathic girl was dumped over a text, we should see her in the right despite how much property damage and lives are at stake because of her. If a cat acts mad and agitated, just do stuff to it to get it more mad and agitated. It's cool to yell at your parents if one of your friends loves them. And frenemies is the worst out of them all. You know how Barbara's friends gaslight her? Well, it's a very similar thing to what Enter's team did to me. And Barbara's friends are not even giving a shit that Barbara left them. The first thing that we see them cut to after their breakup is them eating ice cream. And they seem pretty happy about it. They're just as happy as when John fired me, and apparently his team never mentioned me once since they got rid of me. What is the point? No, seriously, why should I continue? Should I bring up the small inconsistencies like Zatanna knowing Bab's acronym?
My GBFF, Gotham best friend forever.
Despite the fact that Zatanna is not from there?
That girl will join us when she is ready.
Which is why we're happy we went to get ice cream and shunned our friend for good, only needing her for dirty work. That's it! We're done here! Fuck this episode! I didn't expect this review to be so angry or this long, but this is what happened with recent events with me. If I didn't deal with John ever, I probably wouldn't have been so angry with this episode. Hell, I probably would have reviewed other episodes like Hate Triangle, Beeline, or Misgiven Tree. Media mirroring reality is coincidence. Obviously what Barbara went through isn't what I went through directly, but the beats of this one are the same. You know, having people that you thought were quote-unquote friends, beating you down and revealing that they're shitty people. If Frozen can state to not follow these kinds of people, why can't this show? And unlike Butch Hartman, as we recently learned, I didn't do anything wrong. I can own up to my mistakes, but I did with Enter. But he was fine with listening to an acquaintance on his server who was burying an adult making up lies about me. And apparently this person has lied about other people in the past. I offered many times to talk things out, but they chose to be abusers. If John wants to apologize to me, or Hope, Grace, Jordan, or Ava for how bad they treat me, that's on them. They don't have to apologize if they want to for being assholes. I can let that be. But them telling me that I have to apologize and that they did nothing wrong is the worst thing that I have ever heard any human tell me. We could say that both sides made mistakes, and I'm fine admitting that I've made some mistakes with Enter. But it wasn't any of the things that got me fired. There's nothing worse than someone putting you down for something that you didn't even do. And that's what this episode does to Barbara. This just might be my least favorite moral ever in all of media. Make nice because the plot demands it. Not because your friends or family forgive you or because they have proven to be better. The status quo is God!
Which is the only way it should ever be.
I'm only ever gonna talk about this show again if I do a top 10 worst episodes of the show. The next Riot Animation review is technically Has Been Hotel, since that one is number 60. But what is really the next review?
Ranking LGBT representation in animation.
Another controversial review? After this one, Wreck-It Ralph 2, The Loud House movie, and most infamously, The Owl House has LGBT problems. I need to take a break from controversial reviews and go back to something familiar. What's next month, Kai?
October! I love Halloween.
Who doesn't? Okay, since My Little Pony first came out in October, we're gonna do a couple reviews on that. Thanks for helping out today, Kai.
No problem, Rebecca. This is Kai Smash Universe, signing out.
And to end this one off, if you still like Mr. Enter or any of his teammates, even after what I stated, that is perfectly fine to do. You shouldn't like the atrocities, no pun intended, on what his team has done to me, or to other people that I know. And I hate harassment. If you harass anyone on Enter's team, you will be worse than him. I never encourage harassment, and I just hope to finally move on from this mess. StarGiant Productions, out. Happy fall.